I'd now like to ask Councillor Larry O'Brien, who is a member of Wexford County Council, to tell us his surviving a disaster story.
It's an honour for me to be here this evening. When I was asked last February by John, would I do it? I said, I wasn't thinking very much. I said, yeah, of course I will, no problem. You know, in the last day and only today I started thinking about, oh yeah, I did say yes, didn't I? I better get me act together. Ladies and gentlemen, it would be remiss of me before I start not to mention the Hogan family and for their contribution and their commitment to New Ross over the years and for what they did for the town. So I'd like to applaud the family and congratulate John for what he has done for the Hogan family. My story, I suppose, on the 6th of March 1987, I was coming from Germany back to Ireland and coming down the road through Germany, down through Belgium, I had a little dispute with myself. I'll go to Zeebrugge. No, it's too late. I'll go to Ostend. And I started having this argument with myself going down the road, which you normally would when you'd be on your own so much. So anyway, Zeebrugge won out, and I drove straight to the port of Zeebrugge. And on the security gate, when I was going in, the man asked me, "Where are you going?" And I said, "I'm in transit," which meant I wasn't unloading in England. I was coming straight to Ireland. So at that stage, I had no customs much to do, so he let me straight in. I was the last truck driving on the boat that night in Zeebrugge. And before I actually had got out of the truck that night in Zeebrugge, the boat had taken off and was leaving the port. So it's probably, it was a given thing at the time that I normally wouldn't go upstairs on a boat, and no one ever checked. I'd normally get back in the bunk behind me. I'd get an extra hour's sleep before we reached the coast of England, reached over. I'd be ready to drive on for another 8 hours down to Fishguard to get another boat. But this night I said no, I was going upstairs. My daughter was 2 years old and my wife was expecting her second child, so that's why I was in a hurry home. I shouldn't have been on the trip, but there goes. So I got home, I got off out of the truck and went upstairs. And on the same sailing, the Sun newspaper in England had run a day trip to Belgium. You go out on the morning boat, return on the evening boat for £1. It was the 7th of March, so there wouldn't be that many people on the boat. So you could go shopping in Zeebrugge for the day and travel back on the evening boat. Hence there were so many people. Normally at that time of the year there'd be not many truck drivers and there wouldn't be any passengers. But hence there were so many passengers, kids going out to Belgium for the morning and the families and coming back on the evening boat. So I went upstairs. I went to the duty free, it was packed. I went to change some money, that was packed. So I went up to the restaurant, sat down, looked at the menu, ordered, and I was just looking around. I suppose we were 15 to 20 minutes out to sea at this stage. And to give you a kind of an example that what the Herald of Free Enterprise was, it could carry 400 trucks, articulated juggernauts, and 1,000 cars, right? She was a massive ship. And we were about 15, 20 minutes out when I was upstairs in the restaurant, and I had ordered something to eat, and I sat down, and I was just looking around, and it was a calm night, but a cold night for the 6th of March. Now, I had been on boats for over 10 years, all over Europe, behind Iron Curtain and different places, travelling with a truck. And rough, I wouldn't like it, but I stick with it. But this night was very calm. So after about 22 minutes, the ship went to port. Heavy going to port now. So heavy now you could hear the bottles and everything in the duty free breaking. She came back, went the other way, and back over. And that was it. Over she went. It was all in a matter of 7 to 10 seconds. The ship went over on its side, completely. For me, for someone that can't swim, right, still can't swim. I tried it when I came home in New Ross in the swimming pool, but couldn't get a gist of it. It was probably too late and I was gone too old anyway, but I did try. But when all hell let loose, when it went over, there was, I suppose the things I can remember, and I would close my eyes at night, there were an awful lot of children on board the boat, right? And older people. There were so many decks. They were only out for the day, shopping, and back that evening, you know. As it happened, I was lucky. The table that I was sitting at was welded to the floor. I held on to that. To see the porthole windows bursting open and the water coming in as she went over. It was an experience that I'll never forget. But to see, I suppose the worst thing for me, to see the children being washed away and from their parents and the whole lot, was a terrible thing. You know, it's 1987 and it has never went out of my mind. But to move on with the story, I held on, and I had been on boats for over 10 years, and I said, look, I know there's no way out, only up is the only way to go. And I had my senses about me, just at least to know that. But I tried to move up, and a lot of partitions on those big boats were made of glass. The walls and all were all glass. And after a period of time, like 2 minutes going by was like an hour. But there was people getting pulled back up on partitions that were wall partitions, but now were the floor. And there were so many people getting up on that they were collapsing and going back into the water. So I decided anyway there was only one way for me to go. I was lucky, I had no one to worry about but myself. I had no one with me, I didn't know anyone on the boat. So I decided to keep going up anyway. Now, on all big ships at the time, there was armchairs locked to the floor, the way you could look out the porthole windows and all that. So I reckoned the best bet was go that way. So that's what I did. I had a fire hose reel that I found, I threw it up around an armchair, pulled myself up the hose. Of course, I was a little more fitter and hadn't the belly then. I wouldn't like to try it now, but I got up and got to the top. Whatever happened, I lost my grip and I went back down into the water again. But by holding onto the fire hose, I got myself back up eventually. And the porthole window had broken for some reason, whether the ship had strained or what, I don't know. I eventually got it on the side and I said, oh Jesus, what am I going to do now? But anyway, I got out, I walked up and down. I hadn't a clue what I was at or what I was doing. So I walked up and down and I said, I could see a ship. Now, it was a ship, probably about 4 or 5 miles off. So, being so silly and stupid, I took out the cigarette lighter out of my pocket, a big cigarette lighter, and I started doing this. See, could I draw attention to the ship? Of course I couldn't. And where we were coming off radar, we were just going on to English radar, and there was a little lag, so the ship hadn't been missed or hadn't been picked up on the Dover radar, so there was a loss of time for half an hour, seemingly. So I got out on the side of the ship anyway, and I kept walking up and down. I said, what am I going to do? So I just was trying to calm down and take a deep breath. So I said, I suppose there's no point in standing here like a fool. So I grabbed a big rope, I threw it inside, and I started taking people out. And I kept at that for a good while. The more I took out, the more I helped. More people helped me, and we helped. But, we eventually got off. But people asked me, did anyone ever contact you? And my answer to that was, don't be silly, like, why should people contact me? I was in a strange country. There was no one stopping to ask me my name and address, like, people who just wanted to be safe, to get down on some kind of a boat, to get out of the ship. But there was one lady, things that stick out in your mind, that asked me when I got her out that she couldn't leave, right? And I said, of course you'll have to leave. But she said she wasn't leaving. Now, I didn't say it as nice the second time, right? But I was polite. But she refused to leave the ship or move off to get away. I could take other people out. She said she had to wait on her husband. So I said, I can't see him. But I got back in and I went down. I found him all right. He was dead. He was after being drowned. But I didn't tell her that when I came back up. I said, he'll be out in a few minutes. And that same lady, about 4 years later, contacted the Anne Diamond Show in England. And there was an investigation done for about 3 months about some Irish fella they were looking for with a big, tough voice. And they eventually found me anyway. So I was brought over to England and put into a room with solicitors, and just to prove I was the right person there, to make sure I was who I was. And then that get her story and my story, put the two of them together to see we were the same people, which we were. Her name was Sonia Howard, and I met her about 5 years after the accident in England. But she was one of the people. But Pat Kenny asked me one night, why didn't other people contact you? Look at it. When you're coming up out of a tragedy like that, you don't stop and ask someone his name and address the way I can write to you or anything like that. They're just lucky to be off it. There was a lot of people drowned that night. There was 210 people lost their life that night. All basically because of stupidity. The front door of the bow door, the ship was open and the back door was open and they weren't closed. And she accelerated in the channel. She took in more water and was turned out it was like a bottle. And over she went. But, people ask me, what did I think of at the time? Did I think of God, or what did I think of? I didn't think of anything like that, to be honest about it. Maybe I'm a bit different than anyone else. The only thing I could think about was living and keeping safe and trying to keep myself safe. And when I was after doing that, I tried to get other people out as well. But I was one of the lucky ones. There was 210 other people that weren't as lucky. But when John asked me, I was delighted to I don't often talk about Izzy Bruges or what happened. But when John asked me, I said I'd be delighted to do it. I just like to say, not to have you here all night, one other thing, I'd like to thank all the rescue services in this country and in other countries for all the work and for all the brave people that actually go to sea and save other people's lives. It's a big thing, it's a brave thing to do. You have to have guts to do something like that. And Commander, the only helicopter I know is 117, because 117 passes over my house every day and runs, oh Jesus, I hate to head off myself as well, really looking for a rescue service again. But 117 passes over my house every day, where I live. But again, I'd like to thank the Foundation for asking me here. And the one thing I would say, I live near the coast as well, and I do a lot of shooting and fishing, and the things I see with people and how silly they can be, it's unbelievable. There was more lives lost this year. People walking the rocks don't realise that the ocean, it's lovely to enjoy and the whole lot, but there are waves and freak waves, and people, what do we do? Do we educate more, try to keep educating people? I think it's the only thing we can do. But again, thank you to the Foundation for John, and thank you for having me here. Thank you.